What is asset protection and why do you need it? We are going to talk about how to protect yourself personally, in your business, and from the weird things that can happen in your life to make sure that you don't lose your money. We'll see you on the other side of the intro. Welcome back to another episode of Playbook of the Wealthy. My name is Dave Grant. My co-host is Heather Townsend. Today we are talking about asset protection. And while that can seem like a complex topic, we're going to break it down into simple terms and how you can protect yourself from various angles and to make sure that you keep all your money.
Let's dive in.
All right, Heather, kick us off.
All right. Weirdly enough, this is another area I get excited about because our clients have worked really hard. They've built wealth, or they're in the process of working really hard to build wealth. And I'm not really into having someone be able to take it away from my clients or anyone that I care about for that matter. And so I do pay attention to asset protection. And there are some easy things I think you can do that we're going to talk about today that can protect you from someone taking it away. Obviously, there's insurance, life, disability, property and casualty, health. I know these are not exciting things, but I'm going to make them exciting. Wait until you hear about my umbrella. And normally when I talk about the umbrella on social media, there is a picture of me with holding an umbrella. So everyone can just get excited about that while you're thinking of umbrella. And then business owners, those who own rental properties, and why just having an S Corp is not asset protection. Boom.
All right, let's jump into disability insurance. This is not the most fun topic to talk about because no one likes to think about it. But let me throw some stats at you, which will make it more real. All right, according to the Council of Disability Income Awareness, of course, everyone knows what that is, 51 million Americans are without disability insurance other what they can get from Social Security. That's shocking because Social Security coverage, only 30% of disabled people will get approved for their coverage, and that benefit is roughly $1,500 a month. That's not going to get you anything. So then the argument I get back from people is, well, I'm fine. I could be part of that 51 million, but what's the chances? All right, 1 in 4 20-year-olds can expect to be out of work for at least a year due to a disability sometime in their life.
And that's why, disability insurance is expensive because it's likely to be used.
Yeah,
and
it's very different than life insurance.
Yes. If you're still building assets and your family really relies on your income, or you even rely on it, you cannot be exposed here. Now, this does not count for retirees. Retirees do not need disability insurance. You've built your assets. We are strictly talking about you are still building assets and you need your income, your working income, not your investment income, your working income. I'm doing disability insurance for a couple right now. So man and woman. And it's very similar disability policies, let's say. But do you know that the woman's disability insurance is insanely more expensive? Like 4x or something like that. And do you want to know what my disability insurance agent said in the nicest way she could say? She goes, Heather, we just have more plumbing. More things can go wrong. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And my mom, as when I was a kid, she got breast cancer and she did take disability insurance because she was out for months and months with chemo treatments and all of that. And so, I think people can really relate to what it's for when you can give an example. And so, we really needed that disability insurance from my mom's work when she had breast cancer. If you work for an employer, getting disability insurance through your employer will automatically be ridiculously cheaper than if you go and get it on the outside. For business owners, they don't really have an option, right? But if you work for a corporation or a company, disability insurance will be cheaper if you get it through the company, your employer benefits. But the risk with that is if you ever leave your company to go start a company or do something else, it doesn't normally go with you.
It's not portable. There are some interesting things to know about disability insurance, though. Like, you can't just insure all of your income. There are state limits as to how much you can get, whether it's through your employer, personally, or whatever. Usually it's maxed out at 75% of your income. Typically, you'll see it between 60 to 70%, depending on where you live. So this is why you can't go and get 4 different policies, and if you earn 100 grand, insure 100 to $200,000 of your income. It doesn't work like that. One problem I'm seeing is high income earners. They will get a policy through work. Work policies are sometimes capped. So let's say you earn, we'll just play with numbers. Let's say you earn $250,000. Let's say you earn $20,000 a month. Your work policy might be capped at $10,000 a month. Well, that's a lot of room. Like, you earn 20, but you would only get 10,000 as a benefit. You can go and get a private policy to sit on top of your work policy to cover up that gap. That's something I suggest for a lot of people.
Amazon, actually, with my Amazonian clients, we had a huge review because they get a lot of their compensation is from RSUs. And we did their long-term disability did not cover them enough. And so actually Amazon started providing a supplemental disability policy on top that you could add on more. You had to pay for it, but I thought that was great that them as an employer, they were realizing that this is important.
I'm seeing that more for executive clients with the long-term disability buy-up policies.
Yes.
All right. Life insurance. This is going to be short and sweet because this doesn't cover your income, but while you're alive, but this covers your income for your dependents should you die. Rule of thumb, get between 10 to 20 times your income, with a huge asterisk caveat of it depends on your situation.
And I was explaining to Dave, I can put this in the simplest way. If you have a 1-year-old at home, you're going to need probably 20x, right, of your income. If you're have an 18-year-old and you're 5 years from retirement, you probably don't need 20x your income anymore because you only need 5 more years, right? So it really depends on how much you need. But rule of thumb, 10 to 20x will help out anyone if they depend on your income right now.
And when we're talking about life insurance, we're talking about level term insurance. Your premium doesn't change throughout the whole policy. It's not permanent insurance. It's not whole life. It's not universal, yada, yada. It is just term insurance that will run out when you retire. You can take a leaf out of my book. I did it when I was 30 and started having kids, and I applied for as many insurance policies as I could get until they said, no, you have too much. Stop calling. Please don't do this anymore. I'm like, great. I maxed out. And then that premium is the same for the rest of your career, which feels cheaper because you get raises over time.
You know, what's interesting in our situation is I've earned more in my business and my husband's getting older and we're building assets. I actually took his down a little bit because his premiums were just so high. We actually had too much. Now, after like 5 years have passed with the girls, right? So look at me doing my own financial planning. All right, let's go into property and casualty. And can you define that? That's like terms in our business again.
It is. P&C insurance, you mean no one gets that? Nope, no one. Property and casualty is stuff that covers your property, your home, your car, and casualty is all the stuff that can go wrong with it. So that's going to be who you hurt, what you hurt, and how much that costs. So that is all wrapped up in homeowners, auto insurance, and essentially umbrella liability, which is an additional liability coverage.
Which we're going to talk about because it's my favorite insurance policy. Can I tell you that this is where I find most of my clients are exposed is under 100%. Property and casualty? 100%. Yes. Like if you have the state minimums on your car insurance, I want you to listen to me right now. You are playing Russian roulette. All you have to do is hit a Ferrari.
What's typically the state minimum that you see?
Isn't it like 25,000, 50,000 total? That's off the top of my head. I have not looked this up, but that is what's off the top of my head.
Yeah. Something like that. If I'm doing a review for a client and I'm building out their plan and I see that, I stop and I immediately email them. Like, you're going to have a lot more stuff coming from me, but you have to change this right now. Yeah. All right, let me throw some stats at you. All right, this is coming from the Insurance Information Institute, another one of those places that we all hear about all the time. In 2023, 5% of homeowners had a claim, but 97% of those claims are related to property damage, with 87% of those claims being weather-related. That I thought was fascinating because we can't control any of that.
Weather, no.
And then when we're talking about liability, coverage in home and auto and policies, you literally have a cap with all those policies. It rarely goes above $500,000. Yet, when you find lawsuits, 13% of those personal injury liability awards, they are $1 million or more. Guess who pays that extra $500,000?
You do.
You, out of your pocket.
What happens is if your auto or your home insurance is not enough and someone's suing you for something related to those, your umbrella comes in, let's say you have a 1 million, and blankets over your home and auto. So they're not coming after your personal assets.
We are the riskiest people because we're business owners. We have liability on the business side and the personal side. Do you do any risky hobbies? I do. I walk a dog. That dog, even though she's fluffy, she can bite someone. And you have a pool at your house. My goodness, are you one of the riskiest people alive? You know how many people can drown in that pool? A lot. So our likelihood of getting sued goes way up.
Well, and my friends have a joke. They're like, Heather, I'm sorry, but if you ever hit someone, you just look expensive. You're screwed. Like
hitting them in your car and you get out well dressed, beautifully preened, and they're like, yeah, let's take it to the bank. Let's go.
Yeah. Hence why I have 2 million umbrella. All right. Story time on the dog, though. So this is one of my favorite stories, not for the people, but as an example of why an umbrella policy is so important. My cousin's parents, love them dearly. They're basically grandma and grandpa to my kids. They're retired. And their dog, who's a lab, so we're not talking like a Doberman or a pit bull, or like, it's a lab, okay? Well, the lab runs out and is running around the street to just say hi to everyone and knocks over their neighbor. Mm-hmm. And the neighbor hurts his wrist.
Okay.
Guess how much they got sued for?
Okay, do you want a realistic answer or some pie in the sky number? Realistic, 475,000. Because we live in a legal culture, $474 million.
No, but it was a few $100,000. But do you know what saved them from their retirement ever being touched for this and why they could still sleep at night? Guess what it is?
The umbrella policy.
Ding, ding, ding. Very good. All right. You know another weird story I have for you? I told you, story time. Shopping carts. I asked my insurance agent, I said, what is the weirdest claim on umbrella? Shopping carts. This woman was in the grocery store and hit another person with the shopping cart, and they fell over and like hurt themselves a little bit and sued them, and the umbrella policy covered it. I don't know why.
Wow. The question I get asked is how much do I get? Because it can be all over the map. So I would say the rule of thumb, if you're not sure, match it to your net worth. Granted, umbrella policies get priced out in the millions. So you're probably going to start with $1 million. If you're $1.5 million net worth, go to $2 million in coverage. But if you're high income, you're a business owner, you got rental properties, you have risky pets, you got a pool, lots of these things that up your likelihood of being sued, then just get more. Like you're paying a little amount for a lot of protection.
Business owners. Why do you keep talking about business owners? We're going to have insurance and protections for the business owners. We got that, Dave. I'm going to cover that. To put this in my pretty bow, make sure on your auto policy you do not have state minimums. I like to see numbers like 250, 500, 250. Okay? That's what I want to see. And most of the time, if you add an umbrella policy, they're going to make you increase your auto automatically. So be prepared for that.
All right, let's go into the legal side. This is what some people actually think of when they talk about asset protection. Like they're like, oh, what trust do I put my assets in? Do I put my home in something fancy? Do my investment accounts just... You can do, but it's unnecessary for most of the time if you've got proper insurance in place. So if we're talking about trusts and legal documents, you may hear about an asset protection trust. Caveat, me and Heather are not experts in this. Like, this is what lawyers are for. But we're just going to mention these things, and if you want to go take a look at them and see if it appeals to you, feel free. So an asset protection trust is something it's an irrevocable trust. You can put your assets in those trusts. Typically, people put homes and investment accounts. and it keeps it away from any creditor or any lawsuit.
Do you know that after $15,000 of income in an irrevocable trust, you are automatically in the highest tax bracket, 37%?
I do, because I have a client with an irrevocable trust that we couldn't unwind before her spouse died. So it's a pain.
I have unwound too. And this is where you really have to look at a client's overall picture is, does the complexity and the taxation make sense for what the protections are going to give? Or is there a cheaper, more efficient way to get the asset protection in place without adding all this complexity, locking it up? Because you also have to now pay tax preparers, extra tax return fees, has a separate EIN, and it's locked up. So I have unwound a few for clients because it's just not necessary. Arizona actually has a homestead exemption, and I think Illinois does too. In Arizona, $425,000 of home equity is protected from bankruptcy or lawsuits. And same with retirement accounts, IRAs, Roths, ERISA accounts, so 401ks, they can't be touched in a lawsuit. So there's also assets that are already protected automatically that you don't need to put in a trust.
Yeah, that's important. I don't think many people understand that when they start to get in trouble. It's like, well, your exposure is minimal just because of what assets you have. All right, other legal documents. We have prenuptial agreements. This I see more commonly now than I have done in the past because people are getting married in an older age or older stage of life. So they've built up assets, they've opened businesses, they've got inheritances, and now they're getting married either for the first or second time. And they're looking to say, okay, I need to protect what I have in case my marriage doesn't work and I have to split all this up. Typically, I've seen it work well in blended families where there's business owners, because that gets very messy. Because if you want to leave your business when you sell it to your children, you then have to have a prenup, and it has to go through certain legal documents in order to not get blended into the family of your second wife and their children and whatnot. You have to have this laid out very specifically to make sure it follows your wishes.
Lawyer.
Yep, we're not these people. Go get a lawyer. All right, we're moving into business asset protection. So, Heather, take us through this.
I think if you have a business and it's not in an LLC, I don't understand why. Like, why? Why do you want to open yourself up for that? It's a very simple structure. It's not very expensive. And you can choose how your LLC is taxed. S Corp, partnership, keep it on Schedule C. Don't even create an S Corp or partnership, So LLC, that protects, someone coming after your personal assets if you were to be sued in your business. Now, if you pierce the LLC veil by, commingling funds, not having a separate bank account for the LLC, yet you're not treating it right. You need to have clear line of separation. Business bank accounts, personal bank accounts, and the only time money is going in between is to pay yourself.
I find that very common when people they've got the structure set up and they completely abuse it by not following the rules of the structure. And they're the shock face, like, well, why is this happening to me when they get in trouble? Like, because you ran your business like it was your personal bank account. Doesn't work.
And from bookkeeping standpoint, tax time, like that there is no reason to be doing that. They need to be treated as separate entities. And, I'm going to go on a little tangent here on LLCs. That also goes for rental properties. My clients who have rental properties, they're in LLCs and they have their separate bank accounts for those rental properties. It also makes, when it comes tax time, guess what? You just pull a bank statement and you have all the expenses for that rental property ready to go. It's simple. And the only time that money is going in and out of those bank accounts is for them to pay the extra of the rental income that they don't need to their personal accounts.
Question. Do you have clients who have multiple rental properties, have them in separate LLCs, or are they all in one?
Separate.
For each property?
Yes, because if they're in one, if you're sued on one property, they could go after that other property if it's all within the same LLC. Right. That's my understanding. Again, not a lawyer, but that's my understanding. What best from asset protection with rental properties, everything is LLCs with an umbrella. That's my favorite for rental properties, because then it also is protecting that rental asset. That property is having that umbrella in case someone slips and falls on the rental property.
Mm-hmm. We're not going to go into details of these things in terms of business protection, but you should be having insurance in your business too. So
120%.
error and omission insurance, liability insurance, all these different things. We're not going down that rabbit hole, but there is business insurance you should be having as well.
Workers' comp if you have employees, malpractice depending on what you are, a lawyer or doctor, they're key person. One thing that I did for my clients they're in a partnership, and they wanted to make sure that if one of them passed, the spouses would be okay. There was a way to buy out where the other partner who was left, it wasn't hard on them because now they have to run this business by themselves. So we actually got life insurance on each of them. That's so they can pay out the other spouse for their portion.
All right, before we move on to our next segment, you, depending on what episode you're listening to, need to do something. If this is your first episode with us, you don't need to do a thing. You can sit back, relax, and keep on enjoying the show. If this is not your first episode with us, you are now required by law of Playbook of the Wealthy to do something. So you have to like, comment, subscribe, follow, send it to your mom. I don't care what you do. Just interact in some way. That shows that we know you're there, and it helps us grow our exposure to help more people. Thank you. We're moving on to our next segment. It is called What Would You Do? What Would You Do covers questions about our content to help you learn it in a better way. Heather, you want to go with question number 1?
My net worth has increased quickly over the past few years. I'm worried about ambulance chasers if I get into an accident involving others. How can I protect myself and my money?
This is actually a valid concern because people can start to look up in various ways how much you're worth and how much you earn if they know how to. So this is going to be where you are maxing out your insurance coverages. So if you're worried about getting into an accident, if it's at your home, increase all the liability coverage up to the max on your house. If it's in your car, increase all the liability coverage on your car insurance. You can have lots of liability coverage here.
Just
sometimes
get an umbrella.
Not done. If you are finding that you have too much money, and you're one of those people, you will likely have to move to a high net worth coverage. So this could be Chubb or another insurance coverage that doesn't max out a certain limit. They go a lot higher. So you can do that. And then, Heather, what should they do?
Automatically, if they call their insurance and say, I want to get a 1 million umbrella policy or 2 or 3, whatever, that's already going to help bump up the liability limits because insurance companies will automatically do that on home and auto if you add an umbrella. So that's my easy. Think Kyoto, clear umbrella.
Question number 2. I have been running a business as a sole proprietor for the last decade. My accountant is encouraging me to set up an LLC or an S Corp. What should I choose?
See, here it goes again. I don't know what is going on with this. So you definitely should be an LLC. That's number 1. That is number 1. File the paperwork, become an LLC, and get a separate bank account and a separate business credit card, and your whole business world lives in there. That's number 1. Then you go to your CPA and say, hey, does it make sense for me to maintain how I'm filing, or should I convert to an S Corp? How does that affect my taxes? Will it save me taxes? Being an S Corp, being an LLC taxes an S Corp. I recently graduated from law school. My net worth isn't large yet, but I have a high income. What protective measures should I consider in this situation?
All right. High income, but not high net worth. All right. So you need to protect that income. So we're talking about life disability coverage. It's not mentioned if they're working for a firm or if they're working for themselves. If you're working for a firm, go and get everything that firm offers you because it's likely going to be cheaper. And then if you're finding that it doesn't cover you to the ways you want it to be covered, like if it has caps or if you can't buy enough, then you go into the public marketplace and you buy your own personal coverage for life and disability. I don't know the malpractice coverage for lawyers, but get as much as appropriate and then cover it with your own liability coverage through umbrella coverage. There's some things I don't know about the lawyers. So do the personal stuff, do the basic stuff, and then make sure it's personalized to the legal profession.
Yeah, the legal profession is odd that I've heard from my estate planning attorney and another attorney I know. They say that malpractice exposure pierces through to the lawyer personally. I don't know. So fascinating, right? Lawyers don't get as many protections.
It's gross. Yeah, get as many buffers as you can between your personal income and net worth as you can.
Yeah.
All right, moving into highlights. This is where we talk about our personal life or professional life, whichever we want to share, and you get to know about us a little better. I'm going to start. I'm a little tired because along with our personal schedule, which involves sports every single day, I'm now traveling the country and meeting with clients. So last Friday, I did an overnight trip to Little Rock, Arkansas, coming back on a Saturday morning. Next week, I'll be in Phoenix for a week. After that, I'm going out to the Carolinas and tooling around there, seeing clients and doing all the prep work as well, because my admin is on a sabbatical. So it's a busy time, let me tell you, and it's taking up some personal time as well.
I'm looking forward to seeing you next week, though. We're recording live. Listeners.
That'll be fun.
It
will be fun.
It's like a different energy when we get to be in person.
Yeah, we take it up a notch. I start making fun of you a lot more.
Looking forward to it. Yes. Well, hopefully you get some rest. That is, I know, this is the Q4 just starts to be really busy. It is a busy time. I'm noticing that too. My personal win is last week, Alex and I went to my husband. We went to our favorite wellness retreat. It's in St. Lucia. And we actually went there for the first time for his 50th birthday. And we said we would go there every year. We did not meet that. It had been 2.5 years, but we just really needed to go. And so we just forced it. And with kids, it's just so hard to put all those pieces together to get away. And St. Lucia, it's like an 8-hour flight. So it's not, you can't just get away for a weekend. Wow. So it's definitely a full week we were gone. But I can't tell you how much I needed that and how amazing it was to eat healthy food that is prepared, that you don't cook, get to work out every day. The list of activities is amazing. I got a spa treatment every day. And I got to swim every day in the ocean and lay on the beach. And this is actually when I do my best thinking for my business, because you're not in the day to day. So we all know I read finance and business books for fun. So that's what I was reading. And the ideas, I came back and coming back all refreshed. And so I said to my husband while I was there, and we went for our 8-year anniversary. I know that's not very long compared to you and Sarah.
Huge milestone. 8 years.
Yes, 8 years. But we also use it as how can we make our marriage better? We talk about that every year. And so I just feel really refreshed and grateful. And I think it is very important as a business owner and a parent to get away. I came back as a better mom, a better financial advisor. And I told my husband, let's try to do this twice a year and eventually go to every quarter. That's a big ask.
Twice a year. So you're going to do it in another 3 years.
I hope not.
That's usually how it works.
I hope not. I hope not.
Well, I'm glad you had a fun time. That sounds really nice. All right. Thank you for listening to this episode of Playbook of the Wealthy. You can find us on whichever platform you listen to podcasts, and the video version of the show is on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. If you go to the Retirement Matters Facebook page, my social media assistant has been posting there for a long time, and I have not mentioned it. If you want to send an email to the show, you can contact us at hello@playbookotw.com. We'll see you next time. Heather's going to say goodbye. Jordan's coming up after her.
Toodles!
All opinions expressed by Dave Grant and Heather Townsend are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the views of their respective wealth management firms. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Nothing in this material constitutes a solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. Clients of Retirement Matters and Townsend Financial may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast.